Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Welcome back to the show, or welcome for the first time. If it's your first time, here we interview the nation's leading real estate entrepreneurs, and today I've got an incredible guest with us. Welcome back if you're joining us for a second, third, or 100th time. It's your host, Stephen Schmidt, and I'm here today with Nathan Derksen. And today we're going to be talking about Nathan's rise in real estate. He is in several different verticals within the space, including property management, has over $45 million under management, does long-term rentals, short-term rentals, and also has some interesting plays in the construction, handyman, and cleaning company spaces. So we're going to dive right into it. But before we do that, just remember at Investor Fuel, we help real estate investors, service providers, and real estate entrepreneurs 2 to 5x their businesses to allow them to build the businesses they've always wanted, to allow them to live the lives they've always dreamed of. So with all that being said, Nathan, welcome to the show.
Well, thanks for having me, Stephen. This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm super glad you were able to make it for us. We had some technical difficulties, so it's fun because it doesn't always happen, but I know absolutely nothing about Nathan yet, and so we're going to dive right in just with some little bit of rapport here. But for everybody listening to the show, I know I gave you a little intro there kind of about what you're doing in the real estate space, but just so that way, for my sake and for all of our listeners' sake, give us a little background of what got you started in real estate and how you ended up where you're at now.
Absolutely. It all started, I'm about 10 years in on this real estate journey, so it's wild. 10 years, not that long, and yet, holy cow, industry changes in the last 10 years. So when I started, I bought fixer-uppers, never got into the flip world. I much preferred to fix it up, rent it, call it the Burr method before Brandon made that term popular. But we would do that. We got to where, had a fair number of properties just inside, and it was beginning to impact my full-time job. I was a full-time paramedic, and so I had a couple of days off every week. But then when I was at work, I had no way to do anything. So I started looking at property management. And as we started looking and going down that road, realized I actually like property management. Why not do this for other people, make a little bit of extra money to buy more properties and, feed my addiction? And the next thing we knew, 10 years has passed. And like you'd mentioned, we had gotten into the short-term rental space, the long-term rental space. That's why, even though our numbers aren't massive, the average short-term rental, is between 600 and 1.2 million in our area. And our industry, or our geographical location, is kind of unique in that tourism's the number 3 industry in my entire state. So we got into the short-term rental industry, and then everything crashed because it was COVID. All of our bookings stopped. We went from full calendars to totally empty calendars. And then 2 months later, busier than we could have ever thought. But as everything started booming, if you're in a boom market, labor becomes very hard to deal with. So we tried subcontractors, and we started just needing to have our own cleaners. So we started an in-house cleaning company, and now we're up to 10 cleaners just on that one portion of it, where we clean all of our own vacation rentals. And then it worked out really well. When you have a long-term rental turnover, we happen to have a cleaning team. And then same thing with maintenance. When you've got a 6-hour time window, we needed maintenance and we needed a handyman who could be there exactly when we wanted them to be there.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
So we started a maintenance team, and my passion's always been construction inside of real estate, taking old homes and fixing them. So we started construction too. We've always done remodels, but this year we're actually going to be doing our first from the ground up new construction as well, on top of several, 2,000, 3,000 square foot down to stud remodels. And we're in a pretty small market, located out in the Black Hills of South Dakota. So if you think Mount Rushmore, that's where we're at, and that's the demographic that we're dealing with. But it's been fun. I love it.
So now you said you started as a paramedic, right? Are you still working in that space at all? Or are you full-time doing real estate now?
Yes and yes. So
Okay.
then I went part-time. January was 2 years on the paramedic world, but with the way the certs work, and I've done it for 15 years, it's hard to let that certification go. So I'm still working one shift a month to keep my certs up, and then the program I'm with pays for all of our research and continuing ed. So mostly done on the paramedic side, but enough to keep my skills up.
Yeah, that makes sense. Why do you still do it, if you don't mind me asking?
I like it. It's a high adrenaline, just fun job, cool people that I get to work with. We get to help people in, some of their worst days. And then sometimes we're just, helping people go home from the hospital. Most people think paramedic and you think the TV shows. That's what I thought when I got into it. That's why I picked it, was the old TV show ER, if you remember
Yeah,
that from way back when.
right.
It's rarely like that, but we get to do things like, when somebody who can't walk anymore, but they don't need to be in the hospital, say they're just weak enough and they just need to recover, we would get to take them home, help them get into their house, and make sure they get set up with, the different types of in-house treatments that they need to get, and start doing some of the more community paramedic side of things. And then we'll do, high intensity transfers where people are on vents. And, again, I live in a rural community. We don't have the things like Denver or Minneapolis as far as the level of care that those places can have. But sometimes, an airplane trip might be $70,000, whereas an ambulance ride is 20,000. So for the
Mm.
sake of the patient, they'll have us transport by ground. And I've done the flight as well, where you just fly into these small places and then fly them in with, anything from they need surgery to they're completely vented and on 10 to 12 different medications that you're trying to keep balanced throughout their trip.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it's just a
Now,
nice skill to have too.
what out of curiosity, what skills have you picked up or that you've developed in the healthcare space that have then translated over into what you're now doing in construction, real estate, cleaning, all of that?
Yep. So the first one is on the long-term side of it. The patients that we deal with, for the majority of them, tend to also be the same people we deal with on the property management side. So it's kind of interesting seeing the aftermath as the property manager versus, when you show up on an ambulance, you're there for 20 minutes. But then what happens afterwards? Who cleans up the property? Who makes sure the renter's okay and can pay their rent if that's the case? Whatever it might be. They tend to be generally the same people. So that part's been really fun and interesting. The protocol side of it. So our world in the medical world is very dictated by, you show up and this is the first thing you do. This is the second thing you do. This is the third thing. And then that's just how you run your scene. And so then construction's the same way. You start with framing, then you go to your electrician, then you go to your plumber, or, whatever your order of industry that you want to have in your building. And that's the one nice thing about construction, is you get to have a little more control than the medical world. but it's still very ordered, very structured, very.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
First, second, third, and so on and so forth. And then the last is just chaos. As much as you want to order everything and have a plan for everything, life doesn't like that. And will throw you a curveball in the middle of it, and you just have to roll with it. And that's been business as well. You think you have everything figured out, and then COVID happens. That turns out to be the best thing that ever happened for our business instead of the worst, as we all expected. So.
What was that like when it hit, February 2020, and you guys were like, oh no, versus like 3 months later, and then you're like, wait a second, what was that like riding that roller coaster?
Oh Lord, it was terrifying. So 2020 was just a big year in general. I had just had ACL surgery, so I was on leave from work, so I didn't have any income coming in. We were fully on board with the rentals at that point and had just started our second or third Airbnb. And we still had mortgages to pay because I wanted to test out before we roll it out to our customers. I'll typically roll it out in-house, test it out, see how we like it. And it was terrifying to go see all that income dry up and go, man, I sure hope that we're going to be okay 2 months from now. Calling the banks, calling investors. Hey, I've got this property that might be coming for sale. Are you interested? So on and so forth. Answering renters. We had a number of renters that called up and said, hey, I saw on the news that I don't have to pay rent anymore while we figure this out. Is that true? And it's like, no. You got to pay. And it ended up being great. The renters all hung through. They paid their rents. We tried to take care of them on the flip side of it too. And it ended up being the best thing that happened. But for 2 months or so, it was terrifying.
What and with that, you have a primary focus on property management now. Like that seems to be your niche. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And
Yep.
so, what is it about property management that made you fall in love with that aspect of the business? Because there's not a whole lot of real estate entrepreneurs we speak with or pros that are just like, I love property management. That seems to be most people's biggest nightmare, which
Right.
means maybe there's major opportunity, right? But what is it about that
Yep.
side of things that you fell in love with, and why you decided to niche down there?
No, that's a good question. Honestly, purely selfish reasons. I needed a property manager for my own properties and I wanted it done a specific way. And that was the easiest way to do it. Paramedic doesn't pay a huge amount of money. So part of it was, hey, here's an easy way to make a little bit more money. Instead of paying for my own property management, I'll actually get paid to manage the properties. So from the number standpoint, that was cool. But the other side, I often wonder because we did sign up with a property manager and she ended up having some health issues and wasn't able to take us on. Again, pure coincidence that just changed the entire impact of my life. And I've often wondered if she would have taken it over, I may never have gotten into property management. Maybe I'd just be doing construction or just paramedicing and investing in real estate on the side, or maybe that'd be the full-time gig. But most property management companies, they don't manage everything. They do a little piece here or there, but in the end, it's still the owner feels like everything's on them. And my goal was, let's see if we can just turn it passive. Let's find the people who, your doctors, your people, they got the money to do real estate, but they don't have the time. Let's take all of the complexity out of it. No more midnight, this way everyone can do real estate. And then the other side of it, as we started going down that, I realized that it actually wasn't doctors. Most of our clients are blue collar folks that are just hardworking. They found a way to buy one or two rental properties, but they're working full time as plumbers and electricians and general managers of different stores and whatnot. They're normal people. They weren't the high income earners, And they love that we've got the expertise, we can handle it. And if you think about what we cost versus what that person could make in an hour or two.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
Generally speaking, 2 or 3 hours of their wages pays for the property management, and they don't have to worry about any of it. You start going down all the tertiary ways property management is beneficial for a real estate investor. It's a no-brainer, honestly, unless you're huge. And then you just do in-house property management. But you need to be in the 300 unit range before you'll actually start having the economy of scale to do what we can do for you for, 100, $200 a month.
Fraction of the cost. Yeah, and I know
Exactly.
there's got to be a fine balance between that now, especially with higher interest rates, because properties cash flowing. That $200 might be all the meat that's on the bone that's left, but still,
Exactly.
I've got a guy who I grew up around. I say grew up, as more in my early adult years, but he was an investor, owned 110 rental properties, and he was the main guy. And the guy worked 120 hours a week on his own properties. Yep. And you look at that, and it almost even gave me like this jaded perspective in the beginning before I got to where I'm at now of like, I would never want to own real estate,
Right?
I saw him
exactly.
beating himself to death and really not making that much money. And so, your service is so all encompassing that you're able to actually help investors buy back their time.
Well, and that's exactly it. That's the thing. Real estate investors, especially if you don't have either a huge risk tolerance or some way to create a ton of money to go out and you're comfortable with narrow margins, you don't have the bandwidth to handle all of this stuff. And why should you though? Again, like I was talking a little bit before, why do you need to know how to manage a property if let's say your skill set is you can find the best deal on the market. You can find it 20% under cap. Why on earth would you then deal with the renter, deal with the emotional that comes along with it, deal with all of the legal that comes along with it, when if you found one more deal a year, it would pay for all your property management? Instead of looking at, oh, this service costs so much, it comes down to what am I doing that I could be doing with that same amount of time? And then if you come out like I did and realize, well, my time, I don't have any other job that I want to do. And that's why I got into it because it was profitable for me. Sure. And we've helped lots of people do that. Had a guy yesterday, he's a plumber, but he's out of work at the moment. Said, don't hire us. This is how you do it. Here's a copy of our leases. This is what you can do. And then that's the best decision for him because he has an abundance of time and a lack of resource. But on the flip side, that guy who had 120 properties, he either bought them wrong. If he can't afford property management and that's why he's doing 120 houses, he should sell 50 of them and relocate or reallocate his equities or whatever he's got to do to get that portfolio to be able to pay even an in-house property manager, let's just say $5,000 a month. That's not a huge amount of money when 120 houses, you should be pushing what? 15 million in gross equity. So we're talking a minor percentage of that, and you can have your own in-house personal property manager. And that's the thing is property management in of itself is we actually make you money by giving you your time back to put into whatever that high skill is. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. People, what I've learned, anybody with a little bit of money have to have at least one really quirky money habit. If you don't, then you're not rich. That's my goal, is to have a really quirky habit where you'll step over dollars to pick up a penny, because that's where you've learned to do it. And my best owners, that's what they've done. It always makes me laugh though.
Yeah, absolutely. I see that myself too. Now, one of the things that's interesting in your pre-show notes that I was able to kind of read over is you mentioned in there that like your city where you're currently at is considering banning vacation rentals. So like
Hmm.
if that was the case, like what's the creative solution? Because one of the things that you listed as like one of your greatest strengths is you always are able to find creative solutions to the problems that you've faced, right? So if
Yep.
that's the case, how does that affect things for you now? And how would you get around that to continue growing, scaling, etc.?
So it's one of the problems that we're still attempting to see which creative solution will be the right answer. And this isn't unique to our area. This is happening across the country where you're having one group decide that we shouldn't do vacation rentals, the other group saying we should do vacation rentals, and very few people actually in the middle. One of the things that we've done is we've actually started getting political. So in my state, we formed a short-term rental association that's statewide. We attempted taking a bill to state, learned about what the lobbying process is like, what it takes to get a bill through. We didn't succeed, but it was a great learning experience and met a lot of cool people along the way that have been beneficial. And if we can't win the state level, we can at least attempt to win the city level. So I've been involved with different local government task forces that look at the different arguments of why we should or shouldn't get rid of Airbnbs or short-term rentals, as more commonly known, and seeing if there's actually truth in it. And, is there a way that we can compromise? In our area, there are, I don't know, let's just make up a number and say 75 hotels. There's of those 75 hotels, I can think of about 30 to 40 of them that are owned by two families. I'm friends with them. They're super cool folks. But if I were them, if I could get rid of some of my competition by just making it harder, and I'm not even saying they're a part of it, I don't know. But just for example, if those two individuals, whereas, yeah, there's 3,500 vacation rentals in the entire Black Hills, including rally rentals where they're only open for 2 weeks. But that's 3,500 owners typically too. There are very few short-term owners that have more than two. And so the dilution of power because of how many owners there are versus hotels tend to be owned by a group. One group will typically own multiple hotels because once you've learned the system, you can start repeating it and it's like printing money, especially in our location where it's again very, very high touristy area. Mount Rushmore brings in between 3 and 5 million people in a 12-month period on a good year. On a bad year like 2008, they're still bringing in 2 million people in that summer. So huge amount of tourists into a state that has, our state has 800,000 people in the entire state. So, we're bringing in huge amounts of this tourism. And so that's what we see is it just that, the affordable housing? Well, we do building. We also do long term. We see where the actual costs are. And again, most people would still say a $600,000 house in most areas is not considered cheap. It's not considered affordable. And yet out of the 50 vacation rentals we manage, the average cost is 600,000 and that ranges. We have a couple that are in the $300,000 range. We have a couple that are in the $1.5 million range, but average valued across of them when we were taking that build estate, we wanted to just see where we were at was just shy of 600,000. It's like 592,000 per door. Well, so you start doing stuff like that, hard to see how it's affecting long term. But so that's been our solutions. I'm getting on a soapbox now rather than answering your question, but a lot of it is just educating the public and trying to change their opinion on realizing, hey, we're not the bad guys. We're not actually, most of our people, even though that number I told you of all the people that come to visit, most of those are coming from a 200-mile area. And most people in our area, because again, we're in the middle of the prairie to where 200 miles is only a 3-hour drive. So most of the people that come to our area are within 3 hours of here. We'd almost consider them locals anyways. It's just part of South Dakota. It's part of Wyoming. It's part of North Dakota. And realizing that, hey, we're not actually the bad guy. We're not this corporate people that's coming and taking over. It's just you and me finding a way to buy my retirement home and own it until I'm ready to move into it. That's the majority of our owners. But yeah, I mean, it is scary because if for some reason they did ban everything, which I've learned enough about politics to know is unlikely, they're just going to make it harder. It's rare that you'll get a sweeping ban or a sweeping endorsement. Um, but if that were to happen, yeah, we'd have to put 10 people and lay them off tomorrow because we don't have the cleaning otherwise for the cleaning company. And it would decrease probably 30% of the top line off the company in gross sales. But then we just find a way and maybe we would capture that into construction then, or we'd push it into, there's always another way to go rather than getting stuck on, oh, woe is me.
Yeah, 100%. Hey, sorry, you're not going to pick up a broom today. You're going to pick up a drill. Let's go build something.
Well, so I mean, actually, exactly. So one of our struggles in the off season is cleaners.
Sure.
We pay them to go do deep cleans at properties that we're not getting to charge for because we just need to keep our cleaners, to where they're making money.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to just pay them to sit at home, so we pay them to go do stuff. But one of the things in long term is I have to check every property every year. Are your smoke detectors? Do they have fresh batteries? Is it, what is the condition of the property? Well, right now our property managers are doing that, but they cost more than a cleaner. So that's one of the things we're looking into is can we roll that into the cleaners? And then again, that diversifies now those free hours that we, are paying for can all of a sudden become billable hours. And yeah, are there other things? How many other opportunities are we overlooking? Maybe we become a commercial, we'll clean the Walmarts or whatever stores locally instead of doing vacation rentals. It'd be kind of nice if it was a set schedule instead of, oh, hey, guess what? Today we have 22 houses to turn over. And then tomorrow, literally nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let me ask you one last question because we're coming up on the end of our time, and I like to ask this
Yeah.
To quite a few people that have been experienced, been in the business a while, real expert at what they do, and you clearly are that in your specific space and niche, and you've got a lot going. But if you had to go back to the beginning and like really put yourself in the shoes that you were in, but you were able to take all of the knowledge, all of the lessons, all of the failures, all of the wins along the past decade or so, what would you do different and what would you do the same?
That's a good question. I mean, the cheating answer would be I would buy more real estate because holy cow, that or I'd buy some stock. If I could take I would have bought some Bitcoin. What are we talking about? I just would have spent more money on Bitcoin. We'd be set.
I had a real high
But
level lawyer that said that exact same thing. He says, I would have bought Bitcoin.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, but that being said, just talking more journey aspect of it, if I had to start over again, I hate to say it, but I'd probably do it the same way. I mean,
Hmm.
this has got me to this level. I heard a quote once that a company, and if you're a real estate investor, you're a company, so this applies to everyone, but your finances, your family, all of it is a reflection of the level of the understanding of your knowledge,
Mm.
not just your knowledge, but the understanding of it. And like right now, as we're growing, one of our bigger issues that I'm learning to deal with is I'm managing the managers. I've managed the people doing the work lots of times. I've been in leadership most of my life in that sense, but call that low level. This is the first time to where I don't even know some of our cleaners anymore because I'm not involved in the cleaning side of it. I'm involved with the cleaning directors and managers. Well, at those levels, and they're starting to where they're doing the hiring. Now that's the level of knowledge that I'm trying to learn. And the faster I can learn it, the faster the company can then take the next step. And what you'll see when I look back at my journey is every time my knowledge increased significantly, the company or the real estate that we invested also increased significantly shortly thereafter.
Mm. Love that. Let me make sure I got that right. So you said everything is a reflection of your understanding of the knowledge you have. Is that the quote?
Yep.
Man, love that. Do you remember who said that?
I don't. I listened to podcasts 24/7
Yeah.
and I don't remember who said it. I wish I did.
I really like that a lot. That's great. Now, Nathan, thanks so much for being on the show today. If
Yeah,
people want to
absolutely.
learn more about you, they want to learn more about you, see what you're up to, what you've got going on, what you're working on, where would they go for that?
They could go to either our website, bear-pm.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, or shoot, give us a call and ask for Nate.
There
And
you
I'd be
go.
happy to talk. I love real estate. Like I'll talk it all day, every day. There are so many different ways it can win for just normal people, that's what I'm passionate about.
You bet, man. Love that. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here. And
Cool.
everyone, thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's show, and we will see y'all on the next episode. Till next
Sounds
time.
good. Take care.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.